I'm coming to you today to ask for your help in bringing together an incredible project, the Community Mindfulness Center. This inclusive space is intended to promote the well-being of our community locally and abroad, as well as to help us discover a sense of well-being and basic goodness. We are trying to raise $1 million for this state-of-the-art facility, which will provide both spiritual and secular programming. We really hope that you can come together to help us make this dream into a reality.
The title of the talk is We Want Our Way. We want our way. And the slightest things, this is happening, that's happening, this shows up, our partner says this, does this, our job, our coworkers, our own mind does this or that. We don't want that. We want our way. We want something else. We want to feel different. We want to feel better. We want craving. Second noble truth of the Buddha, wanting something else. The first noble truth, of course, is suffering. It's not nihilism. It's not negativity. It's just the truth. And even though you may have ways of covering that up, either through medications or meditation, even meditation can be taught in such a way that you can actually cover up how you're feeling. I don't promote that. What do I promote? See what's moving. If you see what's moving, there's probably suffering there, because it is an illusion that you are deluded by. Am I accusing you of something? Of course not. You already accused yourself enough, or you wouldn't even be here. We want our way. And even if we could describe what our way is, which quite often we can't, and if we're asked to paraphrase it, it actually starts to look different than what we said 3 minutes ago, because we're not really sure about what that is, because that whole area of the mind stream is constantly in flux, because just the nature of the illusion is to not stabilize. So therefore the ego mind will try to stabilize it through what? Fixation, opinion, grasping, rejection, some kind of operation of the three poisons, pushing, pulling, shutting down. You don't have to stop that. You can't. If you think you can, you're wrong. That was easy. But if you think you can, but realize that thinking about it, there's something fishy about that, this is the beginning of being able to see through the illusion that we are deluded by. We think it's real. It's not. So look right through that. Look right through it. You can do this. You can do this by sitting still, looking right at what arises in the mind stream. The birds that are making noises outside of your meditation room or your zendo. Just observe the outside and the inside. That's another illusion. There is no outside, my friends. There is no inside, my enemies. There is no, the polarity is just shot in the ass. It's not true. Don't believe that. But what you do is, you or me or all of us, I do it myself, we tend to believe in certain things because it gives us a reference point. But at least I know this, or at least I understand that, or at least I know that everything is empty of what I think. Come on, you guys. No, I'm not going to say it. I know you think I'm going to say it. Wake the darn up, right? Darn. I'm saying by watching how much you sleep. Just watch the sleepiness. It's so easy and it's so completely difficult, challenging, and hard. Look at our society, our world, and billions of people just totally crazy about everything. Heartbreaking to watch, heartbreaking to see it in ourselves, heartbreaking to see it in another person that we really are trying to get along with or communicate with, and yet the chaos is right there in that situation. And so what do we do with that? Be aware of it. Just watch the chaos, because that which you believe is real and that which you believe is unreal is a delusion. It's just unreal. It's just not true. And yet we think it's true. We add on our comments. Well, I'm not going to put up with that anymore. Well, if she thinks, he thinks, they think, if I'm not doing that, I'm done with that. I've had it up to here. What is that? I can say it in a really high-pitched voice. Ego. Does that help? I can say it in a really low voice. Ego. Whoops. Flipped out a little bit. ego. It's your ego. It's your ego. And when I say it's your ego, it doesn't belong to anybody. It's just the very nature of delusion that is confused by the illusion to think there's somebody who knows or doesn't know or has got it right or doesn't have it right or can't make a mistake or can make a mistake or is wrong or needs to be corrected or cannot, whatever. I could go on and on. It's an illusion to think that you live, and it's an illusion to think that you die. You've missed the point. Here you've had this whole lifetime of whatever lifetime it's been, 25, 80, 22 years, this opportunity for consciousness to come into a human form with all of these sense fields that don't produce any sights, don't produce any sounds. There's no production going on here other than the one that self-centeredness generates. You're a receiver. You're given your Buddha nature as a gift. Receive it. Be very, very generous with your attention. Give everything your attention freely. Give it away. Don't look for results. And if you do look for results, give that your attention. Don't correct anything. Realize your true nature before this body-mind complex that you so take for granted as you vanishes, because is that you? It's a part of consciousness that shows up as a human form, but it's temporary. Like anything that shows up, it's going away, and you get to watch it. And if you want to realize how that looks, practice. And how do you practice? Practice on the mind stream, which is a very simple form that the illusion takes that deludes us. So just watch the thoughts come and go. Don't believe your thoughts. Don't disbelieve your thoughts, and certainly don't ignore them. Don't believe them. Don't believe what you're thinking. Don't disbelieve it. Don't turn away and lecture yourself. And don't turn away either through just flat ignorance or through the ignorance of distraction of going into this activity or that activity or jogging a lot. I'm not against jogging all you want. Jog more than that. But if you could see through your awareness practice that you're using jogging as a way to feel better, then what? What am I going to say? Stop jogging? No, I'm going to say just continue to jog. Just be aware that there's a distraction happening there. Please be very generous with yourself. Give attention to everything. Every thought, the most horrible thought you've just thought about your neighbor where you'd like to go over there and shoot them. I'm sure I'm not exaggerating too much here. Maybe just rap them on the head with a stick. Just receive that thought. There's a misunderstanding that says that you think you can't have evil or terrible thoughts. That's really, really not helpful to people, to do that to people who come into this life out of a chaotic karma from the 13th century, trying to come here and manifest some kind of understanding of what this is by stumbling into the Buddha's Dharma or stumbling into someone who teaches the truth. Maybe Buddhism, maybe Advaita, maybe indigenous people in the 12th century. It's all over the place, and yet it's very hard to find. If you were lucky, you could have met Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce over 100 years ago. Maybe you did. Maybe you are Chief Joseph. We want our own way. And it's interesting, if we get our way, what we would have described 20 minutes ago, which is what we wanted, desire, second noble truth of the Buddha. First noble truth, suffering. Second noble truth, we want something different. Third noble truth, cessation or nirodha. But what comes to an end is not suffering. If you think it is, you're wrong. It's just incorrect. There's something comes to an end, but you need to find there are no words to describe what comes to an end. Even if I try to tell you, I can't. And if I tried to tell you, which I will, not that funny. Start to frown. Go ahead. Much better. You're not a Leo, are you?
No.
Oh, heaven forbid. see the way that you don't have a say-so at the same time you push on something. You think you're getting a say-so by seeing the resistance. You think you're getting a say-so by noticing that's caving in and you're kind of getting your way. But what I'm getting to here is even if you got your way, you wouldn't be happy with it. There'd be something wrong with it somewhere. Even people who are incredibly good and powerful and have an amazing ability to create or to think about things clearly, still are not happy with what they're doing. There's an old saying, I don't remember what painter said this, but I think it was a portrait painter, said, how do you know it's a portrait? No, it was what is a portrait? I think that was the question they were asked. Do you remember me saying that? This one? Yeah, it's something where there's something wrong with the nose. That was that person's description of a portrait. You never can get it right. You never, and if you're really good at something, it will never reach the perfection. Will never as an activity. And so what would you say, or what would you want to know? If I say that, then why wouldn't you ask me a question about what are these Dzogchen masters talking about the great perfection? What in the hell perfection is that if it's not relative perfection? Why don't you ask me that question? Not yet. Kayun, what?
Kayun bowing. I had a question about something you said earlier. You said something along the lines of, if you're not looking at your suffering, then you're not aware that it's an illusion.
Yes.
Is illusion what all forms of suffering have in common? Bowing.
Again, clarify a little bit more. It was what?
Is illusion is that what all the different forms of suffering have in common? Pain of pain, pain of alternation.
Pain of the composite, yes. They're all unreal. But they look intensely real, and we will fight for it. Art will kill people to validate our suffering. We'll torture others. And one of the ways you lighten your load, so to speak, relatively, is to take your intensity, your suffering, your difficulty, and download it on somebody else. Sometimes that's called blame. If you blame anyone for your feelings, this is the very nature of illusion, and reinforces the self-centeredness and the illusion of duality. Go ahead, Kayun.
Kayun bowing. So could another way of describing the second noble truth be believing the illusion of suffering? Bowing?
No, that's even worse. Don't do that. Don't believe anything. Don't disbelieve anything. Take no position. No reference point. And even no reference point, if you think there's no reference point, that's a reference point. It's worse than that. It's better than that. And one of the ways that you can sense that kind of a understanding is arising, it does not show up yet, but that is arising, is that your dependence on reference points is coming apart. There's no longer a tabletop you can lean on called me and my ideas, my opinions, my life, my story about who I am. Gone. Not gone, but seen that it's unreal. More about it if you have it.
Kayun bowing. I was probably not clear, but I was asking if being deluded by the illusion is another way of describing the second noble truth. Bowing.
That's pretty technical.
Kayun bowing. I guess what I'm trying to understand is your teaching about suffering is quite unique in that you are saying that it doesn't go anywhere. When traditionally it's said that it goes away when you go on the Eightfold Path or whatever.
It's just do you want me to comment or would you like to?
Oh, yeah, please comment.
So
Bowing.
it is a provisional teaching. The very interesting thing about the provisional teaching is you need footsteps, you need footprints, you need stair steps, you need heels, you need soles, you need some kind of structure relative to move along. Each person is so incredibly different depending on the karma, the billions of years that brought this particular being, whether it's Jen or Naisho or yourself or Michelle, brought you in here is very complicated, and you don't leave any tail feathers behind. They're all with you. All of your karma comes with you. It just may not show up. It's called the Alaya Vijnana. It's called the store consciousness. It's just a name for something. We have no idea what it even is. It just looks like anything, everything is available there. Trungpa Rinpoche even said that anything you need is available right now. There isn't anything but the present moment. I'm saying that, and even that's suspect. So more about that if you have it. Let's go there.
Kayun bowing. Thank you for showing me the windmills of my mind. I'm getting a little turned around, but is believing the illusion of suffering the same thing as the second noble truth?
Yeah.
Thank you. Bowing.
Anytime you believe anything, anytime you disbelieve anything, anytime you turn away from anything, this is the very nature of samsara. Yeah, and it's also the nature of, as long as there's a living being here. I'm not sure when the body's gone. I'm not sure what can show up there. If anything shows up, there needs to be something to show up in order for something to show up, and there needs to be a location for that to show up in. And this is all suspect, highly. This is why the teaching of emptiness showed up so early on. Shunyata. Some way of talking about this that doesn't do away with it, but shows that the very thing that you're looking at is empty of your considerations, your ideas, your opinions, your conclusions about it. It breaks right into that footlocker of ego where it stores all of its reference points.
Kayun bowing. So if the portrait which got the nose wrong, how is the portrait with the wrong nose perfection? Bowing.
Because it doesn't need to be corrected. It's just dropping to the knee of relative truth. A complete appreciation for confusion, devastating to the ego, and will not empower any kind of Buddhahood in an artificial way. You can't find the Buddha because why? There's no location. The Buddha's everywhere would be a fancy way of saying it, or another way of saying no location in time or space.
Kayun bowing is dropping to the knee humility. Bowing.
If it's evaluated, yes. I mean, if there's someone looking at that, they might see it that way. Someone else might say it's some kind of a servitude or a cult follower or something.
Or sciatica.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Bowing.
Thank you. Ian.
Even bowing, you said the eyes don't produce sight and the ears don't produce sound.
Yes.
They look like they come from out here. Where do thoughts come from?
Consciousness. The thoughts are consciousness. The biology situation gives us an intensification of a polarity of something over here that is viewing something over there, or smelling something over there, or tasting the otherness of things. Thoughts is just a much more, what would be the word, rarefied, or it's in consciousness. So we don't have any choice in that area. It looks more choiceless. I can look here at the clock or I can look at the wall. I can move my head this way or that way. You can't stop me. That kind of thing. It's like just some kind of determination around I'm who I am and I've got to be me kind of thing that we see everywhere in society. But when it comes to the thoughts, that's an area that is just like if you see something, it looks like it's over there. If you smell something, it might be over there, but it's actually in your nose. And then if you hear something, it might be around the corner or something, but we need both some kind of stereo hearing to be able to determine where that's located. So the location comes through more duality in the illusion: 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 nose. It's a good thing we don't have 2 mouths. We'd be in a big fix. Aren't we lucky? We only have 1 mouth. More about it. Let's go to what you want to know about, because I have a sense that you want to know about who thinks. No?
Beyond bowing. So how do we really begin to see that thoughts are nothing personal?
Just a good way of asking the question. Just watch them come and go without comment. And that awareness practice means that you may be, it's not a success story. You may have to be aware for years how much you continually have thoughts about this or that, or this person or this situation, or about anything, your daughter or the job situation you're in, and what somebody said to you, what this old man said to you, and then comment on it. Well, that's not right. Well, I'm glad that she said that, or that they did that. Constant comment and totally opening things up in one way and then deconstructing things in another way, so that we get some kind of a reference point in the mind stream that I'm here and I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about that. And I feel this way and I feel that way. And it creates an illusion of what? Somebody. And there isn't anyone. This is an illusion. This proves nothing. This proves nothing. It's nothing. There's feeling, there's sight, there's movement, but it's an illusion. It's not real. I open my mouth and you talk. You see how we continually reaffirm that, you go in the other room and don't see me anymore. So it reaffirms that this particular item in consciousness that shows up as a human form. That's why you have the name of a cloud. Did you ever contemplate that? You know why you're a beautiful cloud, but I don't go into that narcissistic area. It wasn't a compliment, you know that. What was it?
Something you see that I don't.
What's your private name?
Fragrant earth.
Really? I called you that?
Mm-hmm.
Was that a compliment?
I don't think so.
Okay. How do you say fragrant earth?
Kochi.
Kochi? It's like Kochi. Further?
Beyond bowing. So what is an original sense thought as a sense perception? Does an original sense thought, is it going to include personal data like Ruby, my daughter, or my backpack, or colors? What is an original sense thought?
It's just that part of the consciousness called the seventh in the Yogacara tradition, or narcissism, or ego, that is afraid of some things and is grasping towards others. That has a kind of low-level paranoia that's functioning all the time, that's protecting yourself and your belongings and your ideas, your opinions, and so on. You want to know what that is, or what it's based on, or how do you want me to respond?
Beyond bowing, can you give me an example of an original, like the first thought, a sense as a sense first?
Yes, you just did it. That's it. First thought. no elaboration. We do it all the time. We do it all day long, but the fear of something threatening or hope for something better or more success, more pleasurable, or more complementary to us, or more safety, all those different things show up, and we tend to extend our territory beyond that. First thought is just the first thought that arises. Quite often, not always, there's no guarantee. Quite often that's insofar as relative truth, that's very close to the ultimate nature being expressed relatively. That's what you're hearing here. Insofar as I can, as a Dharma teacher, I wouldn't sit up here if I didn't realize I was lying. If I feel that I'm sitting up here and somehow I have this wonderful information from you, if you could just see it or understand it. There's no position. First thought, best thought, as Trungpa Rinpoche would say, he was trying to encourage us to just whatever arises in the mind, just look at it. Not necessarily hook up the vocal cords, but just look at it. Did I get close to what you're looking for, or you will have another question?
I think so. Beyond bowing, can everything be first thought?
Everything is first thought until you pour things on it or try to pull it, shove it around, or do something. You could actually live your life as a living being in a very straightforward manner, meeting everything that shows up in your life stream. Someone walking down the street towards you, someone coming into your house, someone sharing your bed with you, sharing a breakfast table with you, or anything walking into your mind or strolling down the highway of your interior process of consciousness. You can meet that. As you know, I call the evening meditation, which we're in our 4th year, 6 o'clock every evening, as it is. As it is. Not this way. This way. How was it? I don't know. Was it this way? Well, whatever it was, as it is. Whatever shows up, that's it. You don't have to grasp it. You don't have to reject it. And you don't have to turn away. Passion, aggression, ignorance. This is the way we avoid the reality that is being presented to us by this incredibly generous thing we call human life. You actually are not separate from the one who pointed this out 2,500 years ago. Separated, yes, the body-mind complexes are separated, but Buddha's right here. Awakened truth is right here. You have to see it, and if you see it, if you understand it, if you realize it, and if there's nothing else left to do, you won't know it, because the fundamental thing that goes with that is there isn't anyone to realize that. It's a complete paradox. The paradox of instruction is nothing happens. Nothing happens. That's the realization. And if that happens, there's still a body mind. You still pick up the clock and put it down. You still fight with your neighbors. You still yell at the television set. What the hell are you guys doing? You still are involved in all the relative situations, but there's no grasping. There's no rejecting, and there's no shutting down. And if there's grasping, rejecting, and shutting down, then it is not a personal situation. This doesn't mean that you're not responsible for anything. It's like the other way around. You're responsible for everything. Everywhere you look, this is your fault. Drive all blames into one is a traditional teaching that talks about that. Or
Thank you.
any other further question here? Okay.
Myoka bowing. Do we see as it is all the time bowing?
We do. See, everything is receiving the truth all the time. We just cover it up with our ideas, our filters, our scrim, our warp and woof of our thought patterns, so that we have so much fabric of thinking in front of everything. We just continue to do that. So the sitting practice of meditation as I teach it, Shikantaza, is just look at the way you continue to shut yourself away from the reality that is right in front of you all the time, in the form of your life partner, in the form of your daughter, in the form of your son, in the form of your Dharma teacher, in the form of your Sangha, in the form more.
Milka bowing, is there something like trust that we need in order to see it?
I hesitate to use the word, although occasionally I will, but I say, give the benefit of the doubt to everything. That means you're going to look at it for a while. If you when you trust something, you've covered it up with your ideas and your idea of trust. Don't trust anything. Don't trust anybody. Don't trust me. Don't believe a word I say. I mean it. You might want to not disbelieve it either. Don't take any position on anything. I don't take any position on anything unless I have to. And if I have to, I can drive a stake in the ground. I'll take that position. But it comes out, for me, it comes out of a vow to many years ago, I received a vow and observed a vow to be with all things, starting with other people. Does that mean that I'm somehow some kind of a superior being or a bodhisattva or something? I have no idea. I don't have an identity there other than I wear a robe. I find that if I sit up here, people will listen to me and I feel like I have something to say. Yes.
Future bowing. If we were to see what this is, would we stop wanting our way?
No, you might want it even more intensely. Might be more painful. Because then you stop shutting out everything. You see what this is, you just are no longer at war with anything. Then the karma that you've been successful at shutting out for the last 3 centuries wants in. And here it comes. And it can be very, very painful. Buddha didn't tell you that. Actually, he did, but it's kind of hard to find in the teachings. He was trying to kind of encourage you to come along for as long as he could get you to come along without hitting you with the bad news. Nothing happens. More in that area if you have it. Let's go.
How does wanting our way stop us from seeing that or protect us from?
How does wanting our way, what? Stop.
Protect us from our karma.
I'll respond to that.
It doesn't.
I would have said the same thing. Well, not exactly. It would have been. I would have said it exactly in that tone of voice. He was kind of dismissive when he said that to you. And I would have said, it doesn't. More? Good area to ask him.
How do we protect ourselves from our karma?
There's lots of ways of talking about that. And when I say my teaching in that area is don't miss your life. So whatever shows up in your life, don't miss it. Don't necessarily run away from what's showing up. Don't run towards something else to get rid of that. Don't do anything with it. But if you do run away, then just have as much awareness there as you can. Sit a lot, spend a lot of time. There's no success story. There isn't a person in here, if I were to talk to you personally about your life and what you're doing with your life, that I would criticize you or saying that's wrong or that's I mean, if you came out and asked me, I'm doing this and this, is that a misunderstanding? And quite often people say, does that seem to be a misunderstanding of something? And I may, if you it seems to be helpful to go along with your feeling of it's a misunderstanding, I may, but I don't do it through right and wrong. I don't, there isn't anyone. I'm actually teaching out of what I'm looking at. I don't see any separate people. I don't see anyone. I see suffering, a lot of it. And it doesn't show up as an individual other than when it does. And then that's temporary. Then that goes down. More. Don't stop. There's more there. Okay. Now, when you were looking at me just now, your mouth pulled off to your left like this. You do that often? So be very aware of that. Don't stop it. But be very aware of what's happening there in your body is a reflection of what you're doing in your mind stream. You're shutting something out. What was it? Tell me.
I didn't know what to ask.
Okay. So you're shutting out not knowing. Don't shut out not knowing. I couldn't do this if I knew stuff. Don't do it. Just don't know. There's even a teaching by Sangsong, the Korean teacher of the last century. Only don't know mind. What a profound teaching. I just don't know anything. Don't have to have a position on anything. The difficulty with that is if you don't know, then all the creepy crawly things from the 13th century want to have an audience with you. They want to come up and say, how about this? How about this? How about that? You better know that. Blaming comes out of other times. That's why it's so important to see that your life, everything that arises in your mind stream, your life stream, or anybody else around you is an illusion. So it can be a really intense illusion. You don't have to get rid of illusions. Ego is an illusion. You don't have to get rid of it. You just realize that it is no one. There's no, I'm listening to a voice, but I have no idea what this is. I come in here with an identity. I'm Sokuzan and I'm a monk and I bow to the altar and I go through all these forms. But that is necessary to have that form. Otherwise, you can't hear that. You can't receive this teaching. I can't sit out in the parking lot on an upside down trash can and bib overalls and a straw hat. Say, hey, I got some real true teaching for you. And a cigar. Now, maybe I could, but look at who would gather around me. Nobody. So I have to put on this act. I'm the monk and I'm the bodhisattva, or I'm teaching this or teaching that. There's something to that. I mean, it's not totally that, because even that is that's an elaboration that goes another direction. There fundamentally it is empty of what we think it is and completely full of what it actually is. And what is it full of? Awakening. It's full of it, and it's yours. Not yours as a possession, but yours because you're not separate from it. Don't miss your life. Don't stop covering things up. And how do you do that? Begin to watch the way you cover up things in your life through the sitting practice of meditation, through relating to a teacher, relating to a teaching, 2,500 years of teaching about this particular understanding of the Buddha's Dharma, and Sangha, the community. Here temporarily, we're together. So community is a very important part of the three jewels. Sir.
Yoka bowing. We have 15 people on YouTube, and Ath is asking our thoughts, things. Bowing.
Are they things?
Yes.
Yes. They have a structure.
Yoka bowing. He goes further. He says, do they require some location within and or outside the brain? Bowing.
I'm not one of those brainologists. What do they call them? Where's he at? I know he's here. Where's Mike at? Mike.
Yeah, neuroscientist.
He's a neuroscientist. So Mike, why don't you answer that question?
Well, I don't have a dualist perspective, so my perspective is it all arises from the brain.
Okay.
But there's varying viewpoints on that.
Well, mine is you're wrong. But I don't think you mind, do you? You mind? You don't mind? Okay, good. So, but he's also that doesn't mean that I'm right. So right and wrong, that's the thing we're trying to not get rid of, but we're trying to work with us in such a way that it doesn't capture me into my area of belief or disbelief or right or wrong or and we could actually work together on this. We could actually do this together without going for right and wrong. But just like with what's being asked out there, it is so, my way of talking about this is so very complicated. I've been looking at this for a long time, well over half a century, and conclusions just won't arise in that area. And I played with it in my own mind as a visual artist. I played with it as doing some writing. I'm not a writer, but doing some writing. And also with just making up stuff and seeing what kind of stability it has. The one I've been using for years is the purple alligator in the kitchen. which is something that I just made up one day. When was it? Maybe 10 years ago, something like that. And I refer to it because I like right now, I could say, have you noticed that it hasn't gone anywhere? Have you noticed that it has no location other than in your mind? If you go in the kitchen, you won't find one of those. But in your mind, your memory of the kitchen might still have that purple alligator floating exactly 36 inches off the floor, facing the window. Facing the window. Purple. I think I changed the color once to pink, but that's just to fool people. So what am I saying here? I'm not driving for a conclusion. I'm saying just consider how powerful that image is that we just take for granted. Your memory of your 10th birthday or of your high school graduation, which is something that happened there, someone you were with, very vivid memories. Those are illusions in the illusion. And that alligator is an illusion in the illusion, about the illusion, for the illusion, as the illusion. You cannot find a reference point on any of that. And if you play with that a little bit in your mind, especially if you practice sitting meditation, this works in the area of visual thing, and it works in the visual ideation, and it works in the area of concepts. You can do the same thing with concepts. They're just inventions. Sometimes we share them, sometimes we don't. Thanks, Mike.
I'm a recovering addict, and there's a saying in recovery that you have to get out of your own way. And your topic makes me think I had to get out of my own way to get sober. I had to give up my ideas about my drug of choice to stop the suffering with it.
No.
But I can't do that with other things in my life. I can't get out of my own way. I can get out of my own way in some aspects, but not others. I don't even know what my question is.
Okay, well, I can respond to what you're presenting.
Jeff Ballin, thank you.
And as I say, when I say I can respond to what you're saying. When I'm saying that, I don't have any idea what I'm going to say. And I don't need to, because I don't live out of reference points. I live out of a vowel. That doesn't mean that what I'm about to say to you is somehow going to be helpful or supportive, or you're going to walk away thinking, oh, what a great teacher Sokuzan is, or something like this. But what I did not say, or what I did not think about, is now coming out right now. But you're going to have to ask that again.
Jeff Bowing.
You can say I don't know what the question is if you want.
I don't know what the question is, but it's kind of, I had to get out of my own way
Yes.
to recover from my drug of choice.
Yes.
There's still a lot of suffering in my life.
Yes.
And I don't know how to get out of my own way to end that.
The concept worked pretty good with the addiction area. Do you go to one of the group recovery areas like Al-Anon?
I AA.
AA, okay, you go to AA. So those are very supportive, and I think it's great. I think people get a lot of help from those. But the fundamental understanding, there's still more work to be done before your life comes to its ending. And so what you've done there is a staying away process. Just stay away from it. Just stay back. I'm familiar with the slogans in AA and so on. They're pretty helpful to get you to stop going that direction. So on the other hand, the way you're presenting what you can ask a question about is it's just awareness. You don't need to know the answer to that. Continue to work with your awareness. Just practice. I'm assuming you're doing a lot of sitting practice. Is that true?
Yeah, trying to get my numbers up.
Good. Numbers are good, especially if they have zeros after them. Even though that's not a number, I probably didn't need to point that out. Is that a number? You're an accountant. You should know.
You can ask the math.
Who's the math person? Oh, there's a mathematician. Is zero a number? What's this?
I don't know.
That's a safe response. Okay, we can take another one or two questions if there are some, and I'll stop being silly.
Peter Bowing,
Yes,
if I attain enlightenment in this lifetime, does that mean no more rebirth? Bowing,
no,
no. That sounds like a good thing. To be rebirthed, be reborn, and help other people.
sounds good to me. That's actually part of the one way of seeing the Bodhisattva vow is to save all beings, as long as the earth is full of crazy, difficult situations, and we'll probably come back here and continue to save all beings, or at least help them, support them. They have to do it themselves. When consciousness shows up as an individual, then that part of the consciousness has to realize its true nature, that it's not separate from anything anywhere, not separate, also not the same. That's why it's so challenging. You cannot find a reference that will work relatively. That's what I thought.
That was the answer I gave to a koan one time.
Ah,
Yes.
koans are pretty difficult. Is there a, shall we say, final question somewhere here? Yes.
Mozuku bowing, what is nirvana on the Mahayana path?
It's just the ending of everything. Nirvana. Doesn't mean that something isn't still happening, but it's an illusion. Nothing shows up and goes away. Things don't show up and go away. If they do, they're unreal. It's sometimes called cessation.
Mozuku bowing, is that the same as nothing happens?
Yes. But it's a relative statement about something, but there's a presumption that something was happening.
Mozuku bowing, is there a relationship between the vow and nirvana or nothing happens?
Trungpa Rinpoche once said, the best relationship is no relationship. He was pointing at the ultimacy, ultimate truth, which is not a reference point. It doesn't have any parts to it anymore. It's not even an occurrence. That's why His Holiness the 16th Karmapa said, nothing happens. Ultimate teaching. Go ahead.
Mozuku bowing, is the vow a relative? I don't want to say thing, but I can't come up with another word.
It starts that way. You hear about it, and you might think, well, should I do that? Maybe I should. Should I dedicate myself to others? I don't know if I really want to do that. What would that be like? And then you meet a teacher, and then you tell them about it, and if they're a true teacher, they're probably going to hold your feet to the fire a little bit, not let you just jump right in. So you have to think about it for a while, and you know that you really, really need to look at this closely, not just join a clan or something. So then when you do receive the vow or begin to observe the vow, then you really realize what you're in for. And that's the ego starts to get a little shaky. It's different with each person. More. Good area if you have questions there.
Mozuku bowing. Traditionally, I think it's spoken of as a bodhisattva voluntarily continues to participate in samsara. Is that instead of going to nirvana? Is it
They're not separate anymore. Samsara and nirvana are not two different things. They just look like it. Everything is liberation. The Dzogchen masters called it the great perfection. You see this, you don't care whether you live or die. You don't care how you feel. You don't care what happens. Nothing happens. But you have to see it. This can't be just some kind of intellectual dissertation you're giving on Dzogchen. It can't be just something you think, even though if you're incredibly brilliant, you or anyone else. And really talk about that. The realization is devastating to ego. And if there's any ego left, that's still probably going to be pretty distressed. there's any belief in the self or an other. More.
Sokuko bowing. What is the great perfection if it's not relative perfection?
It's ultimate perfection. There's no opposite to it. It's just complete transcendence of everything. Is a relative way of talking about it. It's just, yes.
Sokuko bowing, is that nirvana?
It's just otherwise known as a big blue pancake over your head. I'm just quoting my teacher who said that 50 years ago. Big blue pancake. The sky looks empty. Nope. Not empty. Not full. More?
Not right now, thank you.
Is that difficult?
Just, you get that blue pancake over my head.
No. Blue pancake. Anyone else in here before we, I'll check one more time online, but first I want to see, does anyone in here have a question at all? Very good. Anyone on Zoom?
Bowing.
Jean.
I just found that Google says that 0 is a number that represents an empty quality.
Ah. Yeah. So how does that sound to you, Ishi?
Interesting.
Safe response. Anyone else here on Zoom? We got 30 or so open windows people.
Jennifer Bowing.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
You said drive all blames into one earlier. What does that mean?
It just means be responsible for everything. Anything that happens, instead of blaming, just receive it. You can be responsible for what's happening. It's called the ability to respond. Doesn't mean you're to blame, even though they use that drive all blames. It's just a way of it's just a way of teaching it. So because you're busy blaming this or this or this, it's saying blame is showing up. Just receive that blame. Just drive all blames into Juan Gonzalez.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Is there a connection between thought and action?
Thought is action. Thought is movement. But there's no thinker and there's no mover. There's no one acting. Karma, there's no one doing that. It's a way of talking about dependent origination, which has no center and has no fringe and has no production and no reduction, has no movement at all in actuality, because it's an illusion. More? Okay.
It seems like I have some notion that thought becomes action.
No. Nope. N-O-P-E-E. Nope. Nope. No. They don't. Thoughts are actions. This is the thought. Anything that's happening in your mind right now, this moment, about what I just did, is a thought. It's just action, just happening in a different dimension. The one that in the mind has to create its own past and future, create its own spaciousness through consciousness. The consciousness creates the thought and creates the space in which it occurs, and has a whole elaboration of otherness called the mindscape, however you want to say it. And this is addressed through in so many different ways, but it's addressed in a relative way. I don't know of anyone particularly, other than meditators or people working with their mind, that are addressing this in a way directly with the mind itself. You know, someone like Mike Cole here would be addressing it through science, which is, of course, what we should be doing. But eventually, those people, just like Mike, is a meditator, so he's also working with it as working with his consciousness. other people that are working with that in through chemistry. Some people are incredibly adept at using concepts and ideas to produce information and ideas and conclusions and analysis of things. Who's your favorite German philosopher?
I think you're thinking of someone from Vienna.
From Dearborn? I think that's the other one.
Ludwig.
Huh? Oh, Ludwig von Beethoven. There's some, yeah. So I'm just saying, what I'm just being a little silly, but I'm just saying there's people who are extremely good at thinking. C.G. Jung was having an astonishing ability to talk about things that actually are quite flimsy in that area of consciousness. His introduction to Wilhelm's translation of the I Ching, which I first read back in the 60s, just an amazing, amazing. I don't have a word for it. It's like an explosion of concepts and ideas about something that was an arcane way of wisdom. His understanding it was, but I just hesitate to even project or have an idea about what it would have been like if he'd been a meditator. I'm not saying he didn't meditate a little bit, but he didn't have a teacher. He was his own teacher, I think, other than maybe Freud was kind of a teacher of his. He wouldn't like that if I said that. Okay, taking enough of your time. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you have a pleasant rest of your day. And again, if you can help us in any way, if you can help this community, if you can help this community mindfulness center, if you can hook me up with any, what's the note here? Clubs or groups that might need speakers or get in front of anybody and present this material, and I can talk endlessly, as you probably have already noticed. Help us. I'll help you if I can. You help us if you can.
I'm coming to you today to ask for your help in bringing together an incredible project, the Community Mindfulness Center. This inclusive space is intended to promote the well-being of our community locally and abroad, as well as to help us discover a sense of well-being and basic goodness. We are trying to raise $1 million for this state-of-the-art facility, which will provide both spiritual and secular programming. We really hope that you can come together to help us make this dream into a reality.